Hi, I'm Inez. I'm a food addict. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the gray sheet, committed to my sponsor. Abstinence is the most important thing in my life. Without exception, I don't eat no matter what. My abstinence date is April 18th, 2022. And I'm in California. I live in Sunnyvale. It's in the Bay Area. This is the second time I got recorded today. I did the Gray Sheet podcast this morning. I took the day off. I've been sitting at my desk all day long because I've just been studying for this driving exam, and I just want God to take over, right? Because what I think, what I think you guys need to hear is sometimes doesn't align with what my higher power wants me to share. Um, I'm feeling really grateful to be in 12 step. I'm in this weird spot where I'm dating and it's scary and it's weird. But the first thing that I always lead with is I'm spiritual, I'm sober, and I don't eat compulsively. If we can get past that, then let's keep it going, right? And yeah. I got into 12 step really young. I got sober at 19. It got that bad, right? And then a year in, I told my first sponsor, I was like, I think I have an eating disorder. She was like, yeah, me too. I don't know how to help you with that. She gave me an FA flyer. I landed in OA. It was Thanksgiving. I wasn't done yet, you know? You got to be real desperate to get abstinent during Thanksgiving. Oh man, I remember I went down to my aunt and uncle's, and at that time I was vegan. I think the year was 2016-ish. It was trendy and cool. And I didn't go vegan to be healthy. I just did it to lose weight. And yeah, I remember I was talking to someone and they were like, "You're not done." And I was so offended. I was like, "Oh, how could you say that to me?" But I wasn't done, right? My aunt had sent me home with all these leftover Tupperwares, and I was on the bus for an hour. I came home with nothing, right? And yeah, actually I didn't know that Gray Sheet was everything was OA back in the day. Same thing with AA, right? Resentment in a coffee pot. I don't know if they do coffee pots at Gray Sheet meetings, but yeah, it's really cool to know the history of it. So I started in OA 90 on accident, kind of. I got 12 step into a 12 step workshop. We were doing the Joe and Charlie tapes. I called someone who was an Al-Anon wife of an AA guy who happened to be in OA. And yeah, she was like, "Go home. I'll bring you a plate of food." I'll never forget. It was a mountain of abstinent food. And I was like, "This is fucking ridiculous." Sorry if we don't cuss. Um, and she was like, "You're a compulsive eater. Just eat the food. Don't complain that it's too much, you know? I know you eat." And yeah, she saved my life in a weird way. And I'm pretty sure she was one of those women who sponsored more people than she could. So I kept asking, "Are you sponsoring me? Because I'm committing my food to you, but I don't know if you're my sponsor." And so she got her sponsee to sponsor me. And after a couple of months, she ended up going out. And that's happened to me a few times where I was I was really doing this thing, and then my sponsor goes out, and I feel like it's a test, right? Not really. I always want to make it about me though. I'm like, am I really gonna do this thing? Because this is an excuse now. This is where the rubber hits the road. And so I found a really intense sponsor. And for about a year, I didn't use any spices. I only drank water at 3 different temps, room temp, hot or cold. Those are my only options, right? And it was a super clean, super, I got down to 130, but I didn't even have 90 days because I kept getting reset on technicalities. And, people would tell me "You're using this as a diet." I was 22, I was in college, I was, first time in a normal size body. I was a big kid. My highest weight was 280 pounds at 12 years old. I don't know how to I didn't know how to comprehend that, right? Uh, I started gaining weight at 6, right? In high school, I used uppers to control my weight. So it was I had never been in a normal size body. So at 22, when I was 130, I didn't know how to handle it, right? I was going on dates, and I thought I was gonna transfer colleges, and everything looked good enough on the outside. So I kind of just stopped doing what I was doing in the beginning, right? I lost steam. And eventually I went out. I think the year was 2018, 2019-ish. And, I'm dual diagnosed. My mental health got really bad. When I'm in the food, I have no will to live. That's just plain and simple. I don't want to live this life if I'm going to be in this big body. What's the point, right? And it got to the point where I was smoking cigarettes and like stealing from my mom's wallet and like walking through the Golden Arches drive-through with no car, like with like 5 years sobriety. Okay. It was like incomprehensible demoralization, right? But I'm in college and I have a job. Like none of that stuff matters, right? It says in the big book, like alcohol being no respecter of persons. And I feel like it's the same with food addiction. Food doesn't respect anyone. If you're a down and dirty food addict, it's not going to make you look good for very long. And so what happened was in 2020, I got a new AA sponsor who had been a GreySheeter for like 3 decades. And I remember she was one of my close friends' roommates, and I went over to their place and she had all the Grey Sheet gadgets and all the, freaking back stock of all the foods. And I remember I met her at a wedding. I like had bought this dress, and by the time I got to the wedding, I was like in a binge, so it didn't even fit, and I was miserable, and I was like chain smoking outside of the church. And I went up to her and she held my hand and she was like, "I'll do anything to help you." And yeah, it's crazy when like people offer you the help, but you're not ready to stop, right? Because I wish I could say in 2020 I was ready, but that wasn't my abstinence state, right? And I was trying to sponsor myself in OA. At the point, there's like OA meetings down here in California, nothing in Grey Sheet, none that I've been to. And like all the people in the room had sponsored me already. And I would start my pitch when I would ask them to sponsor me, like, I'm not going to call you on time. I'm probably going to eat late. Right. And I was just saying, like, I'm not willing to go to any lengths. Right. So I started working with this sponsor. Pandemic hit. I thought Zoom was ridiculous, but I was willing. Right. I thought the mantra was weird. I thought my sponsor was crazy, but I was just doing it. Right. I had run out of options. And, we lived close by. So I would go over to her house after work and I'd eat my abstinent meal and then like I'd work on my 4-step. She was a real like tough lady. She was a lady from Jersey. She did not take my stuff. I had 8 months and I got reset because I ate a hybrid fruit. It was half abstinent and half non. I made an independent food choice. And after that, I just said, F it, who cares? You're going to reset me for that. But I guess looking back now, I wasn't really in it, right? It's like I have a theme and I don't want to admit the theme because it's embarrassing, right? I look good enough, guys give me attention, and then I throw a gray sheet away or whatever, right? I just want to look good enough so you'll leave me alone. So eventually I can, spiral to my own demise. It's like a self-sabotage thing. I finally got abstinent this time around last year. I remember I'm super into like astrology and numerology, and like me and two of my like 30 to 40-year-old coworkers all weighed 222. And like they were like laughing at their beer bellies and like shaking their man boobs. And when I did it, it really wasn't funny. It was actually inappropriate. And I was like, yeah, maybe I'm not one of the guys. Maybe this is an issue, right? I'd been stealing from work for years. I work in grocery, right? I was leaving early and at an hour lunch, I'd drive to a different city to go binge, and I'd be so foggy. It was like almost like dangerous to drive. I like, it was insanity, and I couldn't really explain it because people would be like, it's just food. You're just fat. Who cares? Like, I care. I can't live life like this. And so I found someone on Pacific Standard Time, and I literally was like, I can commit one meal at a time. I don't even know if I can make it past breakfast, right? And like, I kind of have a hard and a soft rule. Like, I don't want my friends to sponsor me, and I don't sponsor friends because I've ruined a lot of relationships that way, and not on purpose. I just, at the time, I wasn't willing and I wasn't ready, and of course you want to help your friends, but your friend being your sponsor is kind of a weird dynamic, right? It's really kind of weird. And so yeah, this woman was willing. She was willing to help me where I was at, and I got almost 90 days. And at her 1 year, she went out, and it was like the same thing that happened to me before. And yeah, I'd only been on the phone bridge a couple of times because I got blocked. But there was this one woman who I really liked, and she reminded me of my first sponsor. She was like a spunky lady from New Jersey. I guess I have a sponsor type. And I asked her to be my sponsor, and I read her what I was eating, and she's like, girl, that's not Grey Sheet. I don't know what the hell your other sponsor was doing. And I hate changing my food plan. I'm not a fan of change, right? But I like had to be willing to be willing. What are my other options? And this is like a controversial opinion, but like people in Grey Sheet are very intense, and I'm like a certain kind of crazy, and it's hard to find like my kind of crazy, right? I'm like, I need someone to be on my level, and also I need someone who I respect, but I'm not scared of, right? Is that 5?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And yeah, I've been working with her since January of last year, I think. I got reset on a technicality. It was Easter. I was bummed because I work in grocery and not close to my family, and I slept through dinner. And I didn't call someone. I made an independent food change. Oh, here's another theme, right? And in my head, it's like not that big of a deal, right? But also, it's like my first sponsor would always ask me, like, "Where's God?" And like instances like that. And I thought it was so stupid. Like, why are you asking me where's God when we're talking about the food? What does that have to do with anything? Right. And they have the saying like it's the food, but this is a 12-step program. It's spiritual in nature. That's why it works, at least for me. And yeah, so I was like, really, a couple of months, it's not that big of a deal. I remember I called like 30, 40 people when she reset me. I was so mad. I was like, I'm gonna get a new sponsor. But I honestly, if I'm counting like all food programs, I probably had like 40, 50 sponsors. It's actually exhausting. And yeah, I started counting days again. And, at that point, it wasn't that bad, right? I was just like, gotta be willing to be willing and be extra honest. I found one of my best friends, and she didn't give me a hard time about food changes, and she actually wanted to talk on the phone and just didn't say A and G, C and B, gotta go by. Because my experience in other 12-step is like I needed real people. I don't have like face to face out here. I needed someone who I could hold on to, who had a relationship with a higher power, who could hold me up when I felt weak. And yeah, I'm really grateful this program's portable, right? I've learned how to go out to eat. It's stressful as hell, but all I know is I got to find someone who's supportive, who won't judge me, and who will help me ask for what I need. And it's possible, right? I've like packed up like 3, 4, 5 days of food, taken it to a TP out in the middle of the redwoods and, camped out. Like this thing works, right? And I could take it anywhere. The reality of it for me now is, Gray Sheet is my normal. When I'm not on Gray Sheet, I'm psychotic. So if you think this is weird, you should have saw me before, okay? And yeah, I'm feeling really excited. I've actually never had this much abstinence. This time around, I wasn't even thinking about my day count at all because I just didn't want to jinx myself, right? And yeah, I don't even know I think the 18-month mark will be in October. I'm not there yet, so no fronts. I'll be honest. I think it's kind of weird when people in Gray Sheet announce their day before it is. Cause like in my other program, they're like, no fronts. You can't say, even if it's the day before and I'm excited, my sponsor was like, nope, can't be excited. You don't have it yet. And also I needed to realize like, I'm not too good for Gray Sheet just because I'm in another program. It's a completely different ball game. And I've seen people like lose their abstinence and lose their sobriety. That scares me. And that was me too. When I went out the first time, I said, F it. If I'm going to be this miserable, I'm going to smoke a blunt. And I'm glad I didn't. What a waste, right? In a weird way, being abstinent has brought me closer to a higher power than I've ever been. I didn't get here and say, I want a spiritual relationship with a higher power, or I want to live the life of a monk. That wasn't really my plan. And I'm not a monk by any means, but, spirituality is the thing that holds this together for me. And this is like the second meeting I'm doing today. I have a problem with excess, right? I can't say no. I'm a people pleaser. Probably need Al-Anon, whatever. I'm not there yet. But yeah, I'm glad that I've been able to make a space like it's possible. I met a few GreySheeters out here who live in the city, and we're going to try to start a meeting in person. It's really exciting. I'm super excited because I got into a weird space where I was like, hate all the secretaries, hate all the formats, right? It's like, I'm gonna like hate myself out of Gray Sheet. And there was an old timer who would say, you want to complain about all the meetings? Where's the meeting you started with? Coffee pot and a resentment. So I started like 3 AA meetings out here, and then hopefully we're going to start a Gray Sheet meeting this summer. So yeah, thanks for letting me be of service. Thanks for being a chill video only meeting, because those meetings kind of scare me. But it wasn't so bad. Hope you got something out of it. And if you didn't, go to another meeting, no matter what.